Hey guys, it's me, Marty. This is hopefully the last part of me reacting to a documentary. It's from a channel called RT Documentary, Russian Times Documentary. The documentary is called I Want My Sex Back, Detransition Transgender People Who Regretted Changing Sex. What a mouthful. This is part 3 of a, obviously, hopefully 3-part video. I am going to have up in the, I don't know what side it's on my thing, whatever side it pops up on, you guys can hit the playlist for, and then you can watch all 3 in a row so you can be all caught up. It's been some heavy shit. The last video ended on a really heavy note, so we're about to continue on from where we left off, and yeah, we're gonna see how this wraps up, how these stories wrap up, and I will give you guys my thoughts.
Come on, kid. Come on, come get your clothes on. Come on. Come on, buddy. 7 years after transitioning to a woman, I started thinking, okay, I've been doing this for 7 years now. My problems should have gone away by now, but they hadn't. And I actually had more problems at that point. Another problem is just trying to pass. I'm trying to do my hair just right, trying to do my makeup just right, trying to look just right to where people would not be uncomfortable, because you can see when people identify you as being transgendered. I was like, this isn't life. Nothing has really changed. I'm still struggling. I was better off as I was before the surgery, before the hormone treatment. So it was at that point, 5 years after the surgery, thereabouts, that I started to have thoughts about changing back. That's my student ID from LSU. That's when I was swimming at LSU. I had a really big Adam's apple, heavy brow ridge, pretty big jaw. This is the ID after I had SRS surgery. And then when I was transitioning back to male in Louisiana, that's the driver's license I got. I had a lot of other pictures from that period, but one day when I was sitting in my office looking at the pictures of me back during this 7-year period, 7-8 years as being female, it was so discouraging that I wasted so much of my life in this particular period doing all of this, that just in the state that I was in, I erased all of the pictures that I had off of the computer and destroyed the pictures of me from that period to try to erase that period in my life. With God's help, I went through the change and I went back to being male. So I went through that surgery, and on the back side of it, I was in so much pain and so much discomfort, and regretted that surgery more than the first SRS surgery that I had. And then when he took the bandages off of my stomach to show me the skin graft, I was almost horrified at it. To me, it was gross. But it was by that surgery and the paperwork that the surgeon gave me saying, when I had the surgery done initially, he gave me the paperwork that said, okay, I've been surgically changed to male.
I'm 60 years old. There's no reason for me, after a lifetime of being in transition, to go and start living, dressing as a man anymore.
See, that right there really makes me feel like she more just regrets the results of her surgery, because I couldn't imagine, like, being like, I hate this. I hate the life that I chose. Like, the other 2 guys, they hated it so much they detransitioned. And that's what, you know, I would expect from someone who hates it. But for she to hate it so much, but that she still stays presenting that way, I would feel like the dysphoria would be like extremely bad. I don't know. At least that's the vibe that I get from her. You guys could tell me what you guys think down below, but that's the vibe I get, that she like doesn't really regret transitioning. She regrets the surgery, or she, you know, isn't satisfied with her surgery results, because that's what it sounds like it was. Because I don't know how things were back then. I don't know if dilation was a thing. I don't know if how differently they did it. I don't know much about like the old surgeries that they did back. I don't remember how many years ago that she said, but I think that it is definitely, I think that seems like that's what the biggest thing is, though, because I don't know. I could be wrong, though, but that's at least the vibe that I get from it. But let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna continue on.
There's no benefit in it, but there is a benefit in my standing before an audience of young kids in college who are considering this path and saying to them, okay, I'm the real deal. I started living as a woman when I was 20. I've lived 40 years of my life. I've had breast augmentation. I've had genital surgery. I've had 40 years of hormones. All of it has not made my life any better. It's never solved the problem. You break your left leg. You go into a doctor's office, and under the transsexual rule of medical treatment, they say, this is your new normal, and we're gonna break your right leg too.
I think it's safe to say that when somebody has been cross-dressed and affirmed physically abused and sexually abused, that psychotherapy is the most needed therapy, not hormones and surgery.
Yes, I totally agree with you there. You need therapy, like in general, like to deal with that stuff. Like you need to work through that stuff. You can't rely on transitioning, fixing that stuff either. And that's what the issue is that people are transitioning to get away from their problems, when that's not how you need to do it. You need to deal with your problems either before transitioning or while you're transitioning. But and that's what I've been doing. And that's what everybody should be doing. I mean, regardless if you're trans, you should be slowly working on your problems, especially any severe problems, because the trauma from it's never, ever going to go away until you can work your way through it. And it's very, very hard to deal with some shit. But it's shit you got to deal with. And I feel like so many people transition and, you know, pick up a gender identity just to distance themselves from the person that all that stuff happened to. Now, this is a new person. This stuff didn't happen to this person. So therefore, I don't have to deal with it, when that doesn't really change anything. And all you did is add on to your mental problems, your mental stress. And that's why you need to, like, make sure you're not transitioning to get away from your life, which is, I think, what a lot of people do. And I mean, all of these people, it sounds like, did, except for the one lady. The one lady, I think she genuinely, I feel like, just from everything she said, she's happy in her gender identity. She's just not happy with her surgery results. And and she's not happy that dysphoria didn't go away. But I mean, even she said as she got stuff done, it would make her feel better, but it would still be there, which is exactly what every trans person describes. Again, transitioning won't always make dysphoria go away. And that's something that I can't stress enough. That's something that no matter how confident you are that it will make it go away, don't bet on it, because it is possible, but it's very, very unlikely, and don't expect it. And I feel like that's what a lot of people's problems is as well, is that they transition expecting it to make dysphoria and everything go away. And that's not something that you should do. You shouldn't expect that. You should be working on making those problems go away yourself. But yeah, anyway, let's continue.
When I met Rachel, I was already legally a man again.
Hey, baby doll. How was your day?
Her and her daughter came over to my house for a Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting. And it was there that I first met her. And that was in 2010. And from there, I invited her for a coffee.
And I didn't know what that meant. So I asked one of my classmates, what does that mean? One of my younger classmates. So she said, well, that's a safe way for asking for a date or trying to meet up with somebody.
I shared with her my past and what had happened and how I was. And at that time, she said, okay, let's be friends.
We had shared the same interests, like what I was saying. We both like doing, especially swimming, but triathlons, we liked hiking. I don't know, I know he will say he remembers one time we went on a hike and we sat down for a rest and on a bench, and I kind of sat close to him and put my head on his shoulder.
And it was at that point I knew our relationship was changing, and that it was okay for me to start pursuing Rachel in a romantic way. And I did.
I'm really glad that this guy, though, like, found somebody who made him happy. Like, that makes me really, really happy. Like, yeah.
Excellent. You're good.
The intimacy between Rachel and me, with me being surgically altered, I cannot come to an orgasm. So Rachel and I, we enjoy intimacy.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, fresh air?
Fresh air is good. It is beautiful, and I'm praying for a little bit more rain, because if you notice up here, the green is starting to turn back to brown.
He asked me pretty soon, after a few months, if I'd marry him. And I think I thought about it for not too long, maybe a week or two, and responded yes. My older daughter said it probably best is they wanted me to be happy.
I'm glad that he has, you know, gotten happy and everything. I'm not sure. I feel like because we're winding down to the end of the video, this is like the ending of all of everybody's stories. I really am curious on how he feels about like his post-surgery, like if he's like how he feels about that as well. I'm curious of like therapy and stuff like that, like if he went through therapy, if that's like how he like came to like realize stuff. I would love to, like, that's like my biggest question is like how and where like was therapy involved at all in this, because I feel like that's a major part in transitioning. But I feel like I've said the word therapy like 100 times watching this video.
And I knew I was going to change back, but the big moment came when I was praying, and the Lord Jesus appeared to me as a vision in the prayer, as though I could touch him, just like I could touch anybody here. And he came and reached down to me with his hands and picked me up and said, "You're now safe with me forever." And it was at that moment that my life changed in a split second. Look at this, I'm healthy. Many of the people who've gone through this before me are dead. They're alcoholics. They're still struggling with their identity, and I'm alive and well and healthy and married for 21 years to my wife. That's redemption, restoration, and I'm helping other people. What other thing that's better in life when you're reaching out and helping other people with their life?
To you, babe. I love you.
I love you.
Did you taste it?
It's kind of tough.
It is. But it's still pretty. It's still pretty tasty. I am so happy I am the way I am now. Even though I have problems, I have a choice to let my problems burden me, or to look up, to see each day as a beautiful day, and just to enjoy life. In his hands, he's got you and me, baby. In his hands, he's got you and me, baby. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands.
Okay, so that's the end of that. I'm really, really happy that he at least is happy now with how things are and he's able to deal with the issues that he has currently and everything like that. This definitely was not like a good answer for like my replies. This doesn't really explain the suicide rate thing. Like, he literally just quoted what Walt Heyer said. For those of you who don't know, if you remember watching from the first one, this is all started because I was arguing with somebody on Facebook, and I was told that this video is the answer to why transitioning is not the proper action for gender dysphoria, why the suicide rate is so high, and there's no data to back it up. It's just opinions in these videos. I feel like they all miss the therapy route, and I know I said therapy so many fucking times, but it's true. I think that's a very, very, very major part of transitioning. You need it to be able to make sure you're not just transitioning to get away from other problems you have, because I can understand why people would want to do that. They're a new person distancing themselves from problems, like I said earlier. And that's not what transitioning is. Like, all that is going to make things more difficult for you. And I think that's why the people who say that you should have therapy before you transition, like me, we say it because we don't want to see people like go down the path of transitioning and like regretting it because they were just trying to get away from another problem. And it's not that we're trying to like gatekeep and stop people from transitioning because it's like some special club. It's like, no, this is like a huge major life change. It's a huge major life like decision. Like, it's not something to take lightly and just do because it seems cool. And that's why therapy is important for it. I can't, like, even just for any other type of like mental health issue, which I do believe that gender dysphoria, which is why you transition, which I do believe you need gender dysphoria to be trans. The gender dysphoria is a mental illness in the DSM-5, which is what the United States uses in the psychiatric association stuff, whatever. But so that is a mental illness, and like, you can't, when you walk in, I can't just walk into my doctor's office and be like, I have anxiety, give me Xanax. Like, they'll be like, no, you're going to fucking therapy and we're gonna, see what will help you. We're not just gonna throw you on what you want. But with trans people now, you can literally do that. You can walk into a doctor and be like, I'm trans, give me hormones. And they'll be like, yeah, buddy, sign right the fuck up right here. And then boom, you got your hormones. And that's not right. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that with any type of medical thing. They never diagnose anything based off of your word, but yet they do it with gender dysphoria, which I think is wrong. Like, I think that you need to have, like, it's literally like, I can't think of any other type of illness where they will straight up take your own diagnosis. Like, I mean, maybe there's like the over-the-counter type things, like the common cold, but like, taking cough syrup is a lot more than like changing your gender. So like, but like major things, like you could go in there and say you have a broken bone. They're not going to throw your arm in a cast. They're going to x-ray you. They're going to make sure you have a broken bone before they do that. There's so many examples I can use. Like, you can't just, like, there's nothing, it's so weird that you're able to do that with gender dysphoria the more that I think about it. Like, that you're literally able to tell the doctor that you have this problem and they will just give you the fix to the problem without even double checking. Literally, you just have to sign a paper saying, hey, if you're wrong, it's not our fault, which is, I don't know, it's a fucking mess, and I think it's a huge, I will go on and on if I don't stop about this. But yeah, I feel like that would have helped avoid a lot of issues. But then I also feel like that one lady is just, she wasn't happy with her results, and she had the false expectations that transitioning will make your dysphoria go away, which it won't. And I think that's something very important to take away from here. Like I've said before in my things to expect when transitioning video, and like I said a few times in this video, it won't always make it go away. It might ease it, and that's the whole point of transitioning, to ease dysphoria, but it's not going to make it magically just fade away. Like there's nothing that will ever, especially depending on what you're dysphoric about. Like I know me personally, I will never not have dysphoria because I'm very dysphoric about the fact that I won't be able to have kids, and that's something that will never be able to be changed, and that's something that will never go away, but it's something that I can learn to deal with and cope with. But it will ease, you know, eventually, like once I have SRS and stuff, it will ease a lot of my dysphoria and it won't come as badly, which is what hormones has done for me. It's eased my dysphoria, it hasn't made it gone away. There's times where it's a fucking bitch and I just like hate it. But other times, I'm comfortable and I am just like me. Yeah, I feel like it's just that, but it's not completely gone, and it'll never be completely gone. And I know that. And I think that's something very important to keep in mind when you transition, that it's not going to completely make dysphoria go away. Like it has the chance to, but it's not very common. It's not very likely. And it varies by person to person and what you're dysphoric about. So just always keep that in mind. And point number 3 is Walt Heyer is a fucking dickhead. Like in here they paint him as like this sad guy or whatever, but like he posts so much anti-trans stuff based off of like very inaccurate like things and like old reports that were then like taken back, that were like, he's basically like one of those, like an anti-vaxxer who's like, this report, and it's like, well, this report was discredited and basically thrown away by every reputable doctor. That's kind of how he is with a lot of reports on trans things. He works for like Christian and conservative media, writing for like extremely anti-trans articles. Like just look up his website and you'll see like how, because he comes off not like he comes off as I'm a savior to people who are trans, but he also comes off as I am better than people who transitioned and didn't detransition because I am mentally more intellectual. I don't know, it really grinds my gears because he's talking based off of his own experience, and that's because of his experience. That's how every trans person's experience is. That's what I hate about these kind of videos, is that people frame these stories and their experiences like it's even though it's 3 totally different stories, they manage to frame it like it's the same experience everybody will have, when it's not. My experience will match nobody else's. Any other trans YouTubers you watch will never match yours or mine or anybody else's transition. Every transition is unique. And to say that this, because of these 3 stories, that means every trans person is going to be this way, is just bogus. That's like saying because of me having transitioned and being comfortable with who I am now and everything like that means every trans person is going to be like that. No, it doesn't. Everybody's going to be different. And that's very important to keep in mind with these things. And yes, there are people who are going to, have that experience. There are people that have that experience. Like I said, I'm very curious to hear the thoughts of people who do it currently, to hear how similar or different these stories are now. If you are somebody who's like that or know somebody who's like that, you can put me in contact because I would love to hear the stories about like that. I want to understand all sides of things involving this. And I want to educate myself on this and more, especially in a more modern sense, because this is using like 30-year-old stories, and things have changed drastically in the past 10 years. Literally, no, not even the past 10 years, in the past 6 years. When I was back in 2016, I think it was. No, 2012 is 6 years ever now. Back in 2012, 2012, when I was trying to learn about my gender identity, that was when I started exploring it, trying to understand. It was so hard to find information where people were talking about things, where people were explaining their stories, where things were actually explained, and it was so hard to find any information. And it wasn't until the past few years where it's become more common and easier to like learn and understand yourself more. And the the medical knowledge has greatly like gone on. They do so much things different. The surgery techniques have changed and improved. Like, you can't use that much old data to say that because of what happened 30 years ago, this is how it is now. This is like saying that, well, because this is how people lived during Prohibition, this is how people need to live now because, you know, it's the same thing. I don't know. That's a long rant, and I just wanted to wrap up with my thoughts. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this and enjoyed this react video, I didn't expect it to go to 3 parts. Let me know down in the comment section. If you have anything you want me to react to, let me know down in the comment section. Give me your guys' opinions on this. Do you agree with what I said? Do you have other thoughts? Do you have anything to add? I'm very, very curious. I like to understand as many points of view as I can. And I did kind of change some of my points of view. Like, these guys, they weren't all, like, they kind of were people, like, I thought that they were people who circumvented the gatekeeping process. Because, like, if the fact that they didn't circumvent, then it's, you know, not really their fault, but at the same time, like, and I don't know how well therapy was back then. Like, I don't understand that time period that well, which I think is another issue. They're comparing it to our time. They're comparing their experience from then to us, and I'm trying to compare my experience to them, and that's really hard to not do. And so I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but I kind of want to learn more about, like, how things were back then to understand how, you know, if they would have been able to, like, if there was really anything slowing them down, or if they were able to pretty much go through everything based off of, you know, just talking to doctors and not really having to do any, like, actual therapy. I'm very curious on that. But yeah, anyway, that's all. Let me know again, all those things. If you enjoyed this, give it a big thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe. And also, if this is the first one you watch, what are you doing? This is part 3. There are 2 other parts. Go and check them out. Anyway, that is all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I shall see you with next video. I have actually a lot recorded. I have these 3. Who knows when they're going up, but by the time you see this, those 2, first 2 had already been up. I've been recording City Skylines playing through videos because I wanted to do that, so that'll be up soon. And then I have a few other videos I want to record, so, like, I'm really on the ball here. I'm excited and happy, and I hope you guys are excited too. So, yeah, bye. See you guys next time.